All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
I
I pledge
pledge allegiance
allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag
of the
of
United
United
States
States of
of
America
America and
and to
to
the
the republic
republic
for
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice for
for
all.
all.
Great take. All right, let's go. What up, YouTube and Rumble? This is your boy Gary Lamb, bringing relevant content on life for you in the pursuit of happiness and wealthiness. And I am joined with Lady Lamb, my lovely, lovely wife.
Hey, everybody.
And we are going to go over Robert Kennedy Jr.'s speech.
Mm.
Now, I saw this. I was a bad boy, and I and I
What you
and I
do?
watched it before because it wasn't my fault. It just started playing
Oh,
after a video I was watching, and it started playing, and I was far away from my phone, and it started, and I just never turned it off.
oh,
But I was I
because I
was
haven't
waiting.
seen it.
Yeah, I was waiting to see this with you, but I'm gonna do
Okay.
my very best not to spill no beans. But
Okay.
without further ado, a well, JFK, RJ, RFK. There we go.
RFK, yeah.
RFK.
Mm-hmm. Junior.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage former presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The energy is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, do I have both of them?
Hey, everybody.
There we go. Is that?
Well, I spent a lot of money getting on every state ballot in this country. We got 1 million Americans to sign their names to petitions. We built a network in every state in this country. The entire time, our polling and all the national polling was showing that the majority, about 57 to 60% of the people that wanted to support me, if I dropped out of the race, they said that they wanted to vote for Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hurting Donald Trump. I was hurting the Republican Party. But the Republican Party did nothing to stop me from getting on any ballot. Republican Donald Trump was critical of me in a way that was congenial, that was respectful, and that was kind. But he did nothing. And meanwhile, the Democratic Party spent tens of millions of dollars to defame me, to publish perjuries against me, to publish fake news against me, to marginalize me, to make me look like a crazy person. And they spent tens of millions of more dollars to get me to make sure I could not get on those state ballots. All the pundits from the beginning said he will never get on the state ballots, but we did it despite those tens of millions of dollars and attorneys to sue us in all the states to make sure we couldn't get on. The Democratic Party, the Democratic Party sued me to keep me off the state here in Michigan, off the ballot. And the day that I announced for Donald Trump, they pivoted and sued me to keep me on the ballot.
Yeah.
And so far, they've won that lawsuit. So my name is going to appear on the Michigan ballot. But I don't want you to vote for me. I want you to vote
Wow.
for Donald J. Trump.
Wow. That's big.
Okay. Let's dive into this. Oh my! like amount of respect that I have for this man right now is insane.
Yeah.
Like when I heard that, I was like, he fought to get on the ballot.
Right. That's the part I was listening to and keying into. Uh-huh.
And when he had to fight so hard to get on the ballot, he realized he was hurting Donald Trump.
Right.
And then they sued him to keep him on the
I
ballot
was like, okay, did I hear that right? First they sued him, they want him off. Then they sued him, you better stay on.
because they realize he's hurting Trump too.
Yeah. They play dirty, I'm telling you. They play, when I say they, I mean the Democratic Party
Oh
played
my
dirty. I mean, the
Lord.
whole game politics is dirty, but they play dirty.
But the type of dirty, and then you wonder why people say ain't no way a regular guy going to get up there. It's not possible.
Right.
How am I supposed to get up there? First of all, I tell one truth. I don't get to talk ever again. Ever.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Ever. 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 Can we find any dirt on him? No, no, we can't. Oh, yeah, well, shut him out because it's not good.
Right.
So when you get somebody that you can't find dirt on because their integrity held up with their talent, game,
Mhm.
set, match.
I love that.
Mm.
When he said that former President Trump, he said Donald Trump was I wrote it down. He said Donald Trump was critical of me,
Mm-hmm.
but he was congenial, respectful, and kind.
Oh,
There's a way to disagree with someone and still be congenial, respectful, and kind.
right. He didn't try to sue
Right?
him.
He didn't bully him
Right.
into doing what he wanted him to do. And but this is politics. This is how they work. They're dirty.
Yeah.
And so talk about someone who sees the big picture, take one for the team. I'll bow out so that the greater good can win.
Yes.
That to me is magnificent.
That's Spock 101.
Right.
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I am hurting you, Trump. I'm moving to the side. Vote for him.
Vote for him and may the force be with. That's
And
not
may the
him.
force be with
That's
you.
that's
not the
that's
same
not
thing.
him. But y'all get the point.
You on a whole different
What's the
place.
thing?
But that was Star Trek.
Live long and
There you
prosper.
go.
That's where I was trying to go
You
with it.
just you
Bear with my
but-
memory, y'all.
But don't get it twisted. That
Same
was
difference.
an exit. Hold on now. Wait a minute.
Mhm.
We just lost all the Star Wars people on that. We're gonna get y'all back.
So sorry.
She knows
Work
about
with my
Star
memory,
Wars.
y'all. Work with me.
But here's the thing. She's never really sat down to watch the series with me. She's just
Not the
heard
whole
it in
series,
passing.
but I do know
Yeah, but you've only seen the passage. So
him.
when I say Spock,
Because right away I put
don't-
my fingers up like
you
with the two.
yeah,
With
but
the,
you
I
twisted.
mixed them
You
up.
mixed them up because you didn't see them all together. They've been
Yeah.
all like
Mhm.
I binge watched this stuff, and she
Yeah.
would just like see one episode or
Mhm.
one movie
Now
on
my
it.
mom was a Trekkie, so
Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
see, here's the
you
thing.
did you
I missed out on
every
Voyager.
series.
I missed
I
on
know,
Voyager.
and you
I want to
still
get
miss
to Voyager.
Voyager.
Yeah. But I saw Enterprise.
Yes.
Anyway, back to
Yeah.
what we was talking about because this was supposed to
It's
be
a
about.
little
So let's
segue.
talk about what we're supposed to talk about. This man right here.
I so
Oh
appreciate
my
that he
God,
said that.
that was massive, and
That was very
this is
classy of him.
this is look. This is the reason why the left can't do. They can't clap. They have to shut you up. They can't compete with this type of
Right.
like y'all. Y'all can't compete, bro. Like
When you have no class,
when you have no class.
you can't even pretend to have class. People know the difference between a counterfeit and those that are authentic.
I know bullet point statements when I hear them.
Right.
I know when you are showing me a presentation,
Mhm.
you have been showing me the same presentation for the last 40 years.
Mhm.
At some point, I'm going to get wise to it.
Mhm. I'm gonna get hip to the game.
And that's what happened.
Mhm.
We just got wise to the game. And don't worry, the people who stumbled across this and got into this land for free and they stay, you listen, God be
Mhm.
with you because you're going to figure this out too,
Mhm.
dealing with them.
Mhm.
All
Yes.
right, you gonna figure it out too. I'm not worrying about y'all. Y'all gonna get yourselves
Y'all
together.
catch up.
It's the bag people that we coming after. Let's
Yes.
continue.
Because that's the only way that I'm going to get to Washington, D.C. and do all the things to help end the war, to end the chronic disease epidemic, to end the censorship, to end the surveillance, and all the other things that I entered this race to do. And I've been a Democrat my whole life.
Ugh.
And I heard all of the descriptions of MAGA during the 2016 election.
Oh, talk
And
about
I
it.
bought into a lot of them. And then one day I heard Hillary Clinton
Mm.
criticize Tulsi Gabbard for being a communist, a Russian plant. Tulsi Gabbard, who put her life on the line again and again for this country in military service, something that Hillary Clinton never did. And I began to have doubts about what I was being told about MAGA. And when President Trump got elected, I said 80 million people voted for him. How can we dismiss 80 million of our fellow Americans as deplorables? Oh,
Mm.
I don't want to work in Washington, D.C. I have a good job. I have a great life. But I want to help these kids so that we can end the chronic disease epidemic. And I went to President Trump and I said to President Trump, if you want my help, I am here to do it. And we worked together for a while. But I started to understand that MAGA, for most Democrats, MAGA, Make America Great Again, means going back to the 1950s.
Here we
And
go.
they say it's racist because we didn't have civil rights in our country at that time for Black Americans. They say it's dictatorial and it's against freedom of speech because that was the era of Joe McCarthy. And they say it's isolationist and retrograde. But the more that I get to know you and the more that I get to know Donald Trump, I understand what MAGA really means. And I asked Donald Trump about what he thought MAGA meant, what era we were going to make America great again. And he said, the era of your uncle, John F. Kennedy. That was the era when America was at its apex, here and abroad. We were the wealthiest country in the world. We owned half the wealth
Mhm.
on the face
Mhm.
of the earth. The American middle class was the greatest economic engine in the history of mankind.
Yes, it was.
A robust union movement that was making sure that American labor had dignity and good jobs. We had virtually every American believed in the accessibility of the American dream, which meant at that time that if you worked hard, if you played by the rules, you could afford to buy a home. You could take a summer vacation. You could raise a family and you could put something aside for your retirement on a single job. There's no American now in my kids' generation. Sorry, my duck is calling. There's no American now in my kids' generation who believes that that contract applies to them. This is a
Wow.
demoralized generation. In 2013, there was a poll in which Americans under 35 were asked, are you proud of the United States of America? And 85% of them said yes. The same poll taken 6 months ago, only 17% yes, said yes.
Mm.
We have an entire generation that is alienated, that is disaffected, and has lost faith, hope for their own futures, and has lost their pride in our country. And to me, that was one of the most tragic data points that I learned about in this election. And we have kids, the greatest asset that I had as a boy was this intense pride that I had about the United States of America. And we were at that time a moral authority around the world. The people all around the world wanted to be in America. They looked to us for leadership. They knew the difference between leadership and bullying. They didn't want us making
Mm-hmm.
errors. My uncle was asked by one of his best friends, "What do you want on your gravestone?" And he said, he kept the peace. He said, the primary job of a president of the United States is to keep our country out of war.
Yes.
Mm.
He didn't want African children and Latin American children and Asian children, when they heard about the United States of America, to think of a man with a gun. He wanted them to think of a Peace Corps volunteer. He wanted them to think of the Kennedy Milk Program, which gave nutrition to tens of millions of hungry children around the world. He wanted them to think of USAID and the Alliance for Progress that put America on the side of the poor, not just in this country, but all around the world. And those are the same ambitions that Donald Trump has. Today, my uncle kept any American soldier during his term in office from ever going to die in combat. Today, as a
Mm-hmm.
result of that commitment, there are more statues to John Kennedy, more boulevards named after him, more avenues, more universities, more hospitals than in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and any other US president, and probably more than all other presidents combined. And that is a good foreign policy, to have the world love us. Don't you want a foreign policy where the rest of the world loves and admires the United States of America?
Yes.
There's so much in there.
Yes. Like I wanted to let him cook. I didn't want to
Yeah,
cut his
that was
point
so
off.
good.
I wanted to let him go in, get to a point where he gives us a satisfying pause before we got into that part.
I get it.
He gave so much. I see you took notes. Let's go.
So, yeah, I took notes while he was talking. So first off, I love that he gave his own definition and got clarity on MAGA
Mhm.
and what MAGA was described as and came off as originally. And you say this a lot. I'd be like, boy, you talking about devil's advocate. Why are you doing that on both sides and stuff like that? Because you always say there's both sides. There's the Democratic Party, there's the Republican Party, and there are these erratic extremists on both sides. Okay, just have
Yes.
to put that out there. But when he talked about MAGA and he said, no, here you have Hillary, who thought she had the nerve to even say anything about Tulsi Gabbard. Like, how dare you?
Right.
But saying that she was a Russian plant and all this stuff, and not true. I don't believe that's true.
And she
Um,
and same rule book applies to women.
yeah,
Same
yeah,
rule
yeah, yeah,
book.
yeah, yeah.
It's the same thing. That's what. Oh, keep going.
And so when she put her 2 cents in there, and talking about her being a plant, truth be told, I think that Hillary was a plant, but that's another story.
Mm.
Um, when he said MAGA, had this ideal about them that they were deplorable people and stuff like that, but that's not true. Again, that's why I brought that up. That's the extremist side. The ones that give the bad reputation. Is always some bad apples that spoil the bunch, so to speak. That's not in totality. For the most part, I even learned, and I like to hear people like RFK Jr. and different people speak about how they were Democrats their whole lives
Yeah.
and had these ideals their whole lives. We were given ideals our whole lives. I mean, my goodness, we were pretty much how they threw Harris at us was how we were given the Democratic Party. We had
Right.
no idea, like,
Right.
oh, okay, this is what we do. Yeah, we vote Democrat over here without even any
We don't.
prior
We don't
knowledge.
question it. And it's again, it's the crab. It's the monkeys in the cage
Oh,
theory.
not crab in a barrel. Okay.
I'm advancing.
Yeah, I
I've
see.
advanced from the crab in the barrel to the monkey in the cage.
I'm listening.
And for those of you who don't know, real quick, it's a escalation to the point of monkeys that never got squirted with the water
Mm.
trying to climb this pole to get the
Mhm.
fruit
Mhm.
is teaching the other monkeys. I
Mhm.
mean, it's being taught by the other monkeys
Mhm.
who's never been squirted by water. You just don't
You
do
don't
it.
do that.
And that's the whole bottom line
Mm.
to that story. And it's like, that's where we were. That's where we were. That's what we was in. That
Yep.
that mental prison.
Mhm.
Um, it was no need to even look into it because this was the guarantee.
Mhm.
And that's why it was profound for me to see people uh I'm trying to get my uhs out of there. I was reading stuff and they say you can get rid of the uhs, that'd be great. So I'm not trying to do some of that. So everybody that you hear me saying you get to count. And if you get the amount right, I'll say thank you, Jesus, because I ain't give you nothing. I ain't got nothing to give you for it. But I will definitely be honorable that you kept me on track.
Thank
But
you.
anyway, I'm sitting here looking at this thing like, wow. There go one right there.
Yeah,
I was looking at this thing,
I do it too.
looking at this thing like, wow. When you really look at the mental prison that you're in, and you realize that people just automatically assume that's what
Yes.
you're going to do
Yep.
during conversations that are in passing. Now, again, I was an Uber driver for a very long time.
Uber, Lyft,
And
everything.
yeah, that was I love doing it because
Mm-hmm.
I got to meet good people.
Mm-hmm.
But the have conversations where someone would say, "Wow, that's fascinating. I would have never thought you was a Republican." And I'm like,
Why? Because we're in the wrong earth suit. Most of the time, people think that.
"Well, maybe that's it, but I was definitely talking Republican
Lingo.
talk."
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right? Because I agreed with it because I know what it's like to work for, dare I say, liberals.
Mm-hmm.
I know what it's like to work for them.
It's a mess.
It's a
It's
mess,
terrible.
but you get to enjoy it because me and my wife do this thing called people watching.
Oh,
Okay.
you're worse than me. I've been trying to pull away from this for our entire marriage,
Have
and he'd
you
be like,
ever
"Look, look, look."
this is why I love talking about relationships more. Have you ever people watch with your spouse? Is this great game? You sitting there, you decided you was gonna go out to get a smoothie just because you wanted a smoothie and you want to go to a mall. And you're sitting in a food court and you accidentally people watch somebody
That's you.
together. No, it's not. We don't plan on doing it. It's just like Tim Wall said about JD Vance. There's weird stuff going on,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right?
Very weird.
And I'm saying that just to let you know that I know who started the weird fight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I agree with him. I'm just saying that I know who started that fight.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
So, for all those on the left that don't realize we know who's bullies out there, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just letting you know I've been bullied by y'all my entire life.
Yeah.
So, any rate, I know when I'm looking at the fakeness
Yes.
going on.
Yes.
I can see it clear as crystal.
Yes.
And it's like, you fake it. I'm gonna play you, but that's the um wise as a serpent, as gentle as a dove.
Uh-huh.
That's why that scripture works so well.
Yeah.
And you meet somebody that has integrity like that. He said he spent millions of dollars trying to get on the ballot.
Yes.
Who does that?
Right. Yes.
Who does that?
Yes.
Only people that can do it.
Mm-hmm. Just like Trump, who's funding his entire life himself. So you got to look at wisdom. Look at what they say growing up in the 90s is so peep game.
Peep game.
I'm not going to give you the opportunity to say, well, you used our I don't want nothing from you.
Not a darn.
You won't be able to throw this in my
I
face.
don't want nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You can keep all your money. Keep it all. Keep it all. I know what money does.
Yes.
And I know what y'all want to do with y'all money. Y'all have dark, nasty, dirty
Mm-hmm.
money.
Yes.
You got to do nasty things to be on your side. I know I've been there for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I now know what it's like to not need your money.
Mm.
You.
Mm-mm-mm.
you can keep it. Because the way y'all treated me, boy, I'm going to tell it. I'm going to tell it. The way
Mm-hmm.
they treated me,
Mm-hmm.
what? It was like, dude,
Yeah.
busted and disgusted.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
They locked me up in every financial way they could.
Yeah.
And it's like,
They played dirty.
they play dirty. But
Mm-hmm.
see, the thing is like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I, you know what I'm saying? You know, I'm still mad at Arnold Schwarzenegger saying that, but he was his role too, so it is. But I just want to say that I'm absolutely is the word enamored? Is that the word that I need to be using
Oh,
with this team?
yeah.
I'm being wooed, if you will. It's almost like I'm
Um,
going on a honeymoon with these guys. It's really talking like, I didn't know you thought like that. Oh my God, we really don't know each other at all. What did you? That's how you see life.
yeah.
Oh, thank you, because that's
Yeah.
how I see life too. I
Totally infatuated. Yeah,
but
you're enamored by them. I'm
yeah,
like, what is it? Yeah.
because okay, let the record show. I believe I am on somebody's chart. I don't know if it's ADHD. I don't know if it's ADD. I don't
Oh,
know.
on the spectrum.
I'm on the spectrum somewhere.
I
So
think most people are,
right.
to be honest.
I think that's what
I
it
really do.
is, and we just gave it a name, and
No.
then we made it bad. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? But that don't mean that it's bad. Nick Cannon is still a bad, and I'm going to keep telling you. He married the woman of his dreams. How many men can do that? he had my vote. I was like, no, he said, I'm getting her. Because I said that at one
I
point,
know you love
but
some
I
back.
read,
This is talking about 90s Mariah, okay,
yeah,
y'all.
but I was still 16. Oh, she's so dreamy.
So,
I used to love me some Mariah
ay, ay,
Carey.
ay.
Man, and she be in the swing with her cute little self. I'm like,
Okay.
oh, you little adorable thing. Because she made wholesome music.
Yeah, back then.
She made
Yeah,
wholesome music
yeah.
back then.
And
That's what I
everybody
fell in
that
love
makes
with.
wholesome music, they just make them disappear.
And well, that in this new generation they
Hmm.
did. But
Roll it back.
rolling it back. What's the next thing on your
No,
list?
because what you were saying was people watching, and you really get to know how people really are.
Yes. Okay. So back to that. We get to people watch, right? And we are actually watching how people maneuver and stuff like that. So when I get an opportunity to actually see you in where you feel comfortable,
Mm,
because there's a lot of people that know that the camera's on, but they're comfortable with the camera that's on.
right. Mm-hmm.
And when you're comfortable with the camera that's on, that means you control that.
Mm,
But once you start getting things, over the years, things start to, things
mm-hmm.
start to get out. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Over freaking how long have Kamala been doing this?
I was just about to say, just like Vance said on CNN, she has a movie playing in her own head. And when the camera's on, she plays this part, and it's like the Oscar and the Emmy goes to. Like, stop with this
So
plastered smile.
at this
It's too
point,
much.
I'm gonna have to ask you to come into my brain,
Oh,
okay?
uh-oh.
Because what my
Uh-oh.
wife just said
Uh-oh.
reminds me of Patrice O'Neill.
Ay, ay, ay. How
What?
did what I said remind you of him?
Because he said the exact same thing
Oh, about women.
about women
About women. Yeah.
in one of his comedy
Yeah,
skits.
you told me a long time ago.
Women have a movie playing in their head, and they're the director, and they want you to play your part the way they wrote it.
Mm.
And I'm telling you, there's many women out there that think that way.
But
I don't want you to ruin my.
and Kamala being someone like, this is not the seat you want somebody like that in.
I know, because whatever it is, she will be no. And we can go to the Simpsons if you want. We go to Family Guy if you want. When they got an opportunity to get that real mink that they've been trying to get, that real mink, are they gonna be willing to let somebody do a little dumpy so they can get that real mink?
Oh boy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you get people like that that's never been tested on that level, and they don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
That's what happens to a lot of people, not
Yeah.
just women, just people in
Yeah. Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Like, one day you was against something, and now you are you are that now. You're no longer against it. Why is that?
Oh, it don't apply to you.
Right.
Mhm.
They was talking about Bernie Sanders and how he
Mhm.
was at one point was saying we got to tax the millionaire billionaires. And once he became a millionaire, he no longer said millionaire. He just said the billionaires. So it's
No.
like now that you moved up, you don't want your money to be taxed.
Mhm.
Who knew that will actually happen?
Mhm.
You know? So when you realize where you are and you realize the tax bracket you are, you open up a whole new world
Yeah.
of restrictions.
Yeah.
And if you fall below that, you right back in that old world. Believe me, nobody wants to go back to the old world,
And that brings me
especially
to
when you're at that age.
right. That brings me to the part where RFK Jr. was talking about um America and making that point about MAGA. So he had this idea about MAGA, like many of us did. I did. Back then I didn't want to hear nothing about no Trump. It was that whole bandwagon, the whole, bandwagon effect, or the whole, what they call it. Um,
Trump, dysphoria, something to
yes.
that effect.
Oh, is that a
I
thing?
think. Well, they've named the disorder. They name everything on your left.
Yeah.
They
Do
might
you
as
wake
well.
up and go to sleep? That commercial. Oh, you might have that.
You wake up and go to sleep.
So I had,
uh,
I was like that whole, pack mentality, run first and ask questions later. That's how we were. And many of African Americans, brown folk, many are like that, and when you pull away from that, everybody has a problem with you, and that's what it was. So when he said, he took into consideration for himself, I think many people, you were asking this on the podcast with David us not long ago. That was the question: what was your red pill moment, or what was your awakening
yep.
moment? And many of us, many, there's hundreds and thousands that have had that epiphany, that moment, like, oh, let me do the research for myself.
Hmm.
Let me find out for myself. I don't
Hmm.
want to listen to what you have to say. Why are you looking at me like you want to laugh?
No, because you're bringing me back to my remembrance about all the things that they revealed about. Well, was revealed about Trump.
Yeah.
And you realize if we're looking at it, it's because they want us to see it. So
Right.
you pay close attention,
Yeah.
and I pay attention to certain things, and this is why it's so fascinating to go to see this full circle,
Yeah.
because they don't realize we was watching you the whole time do this to Trump. So
Yes.
when you come up and you try to tell us that Trump is this, that, and the other, it's like, I'm sorry, but I've been watching this since it started.
Like, what are you talking about? I was more skeptical than you.
Are you kidding
I've
me?
been watching it.
Now I fact check everything Trump says because he be Looney Tunes, but then
He
I
was
realize he ain't really Looney Tunes.
no.
He has a different swag.
Yeah.
See, this is why I think this channel is so powerful. Is because linguistics. I'm going to learn how to say that word. Can you say that word for me, baby?
Linguistics.
That one. Okay, so I'm going to learn how to say that, and I'm going to make a video where I say that word 15 times or something. But
He would do that.
I will absolutely do that to learn the word. But rhetoric, which is the real word that I really want to say, rhetoric is a fascinating tool when you learn how to use it. Now, in my belief, I am not going to bow down to your way of speaking, and this is targeting the LGBTQ plus community, that movement, not homosexuals. It's a huge difference. Okay, I'm talking about the machine that keeps coming up.
Right. Yep.
To that machine, I will only learn your language to pull people off of it. Do you understand me? I can learn your language. It's not hard. The thing is, as I learn your language, I will be speaking my language, and some people are going to connect with it. Oh, well, sorry, Rudy Poo. You lost one forever. And that's how we're doing it. I'm not about to sit here and fight you on my moral code. That's just not going to ever
Right.
happen. I can't get you on the same page with me. You got a different walk. I don't know how you're going to figure out your whatever, but I can learn how you speak. I can at least try. If I learn how you speak, and this is what I've been doing with MAGA and the Republicans and Patriots and Passport Bros and MGTOW and the people who love Tom Likas and everybody that loved Dave Ramsey's or Jordan Peter. All I'm doing is trying to learn how to talk like you. Because if I can find out how to talk like you, I can show you how to learn. I can tell you how I feel in your
Mm-hmm.
language. And if I can tell you how I feel in your language, you're going to connect with me 1,000 times faster.
One in Rome.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
not about, learning this stuff because I want to use it. I mean, that's the danger of it. Yes, because you become, a master at it and you can use it to your advantage if you really want to.
Right.
But as long as I'm connecting that to the reason why I'm up here, and that's to talk about the book, then I'm going to talk about the book.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you agree with it or not, that's how I got to here. This is my homework. I'm showing you in my work.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me to break down the problem, here's how I did it. In the beginning, I started right there. Okay. In the beginning, God created. That's what I started with. And it got me to this point. So it worked.
Mm.
You can believe whatever you want to. It still worked. And for me to teach that to children that he's talking about, which I want to get to, the the depressed generation. Oh my God, he is
Yeah,
so
that was spot on.
boom shakalaka laka
What?
laka. Like he's on fire. What is it? Not is it space? No, not space. NBA jams type. He's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like no, this what I can see why y'all love this man. This is the man y'all was listening to.
Right, coming in hot.
It's like I
Mm-hmm.
will, bro. I want. Oh man, oh that all go ahead, take the mic.
Are you sure?
I'm sure it's because again, it's a breath of fresh air to hear people talk like
It
this.
is.
It's a breath. He even got a text. He ain't even prepared. Oh, okay.
Regular.
Turn this off here. Sorry, guys.
I know I'm
This
already.
buzzing's getting on my last nerve. I love it.
When
Oh man.
so yeah, just to that point when he was saying that there's so many that feel like they were the MAGA is going to bring America back to 1950s racist civil rights and all of
Oh,
that, and against freedom of speech, etc., isolation, retrograde, and he's like, no, that's not what I want to do. And to the point, you talking about free speech and against free speech. Did you not hear Harris the other day? Were y'all not reading between the lines? This woman is against freedom of speech.
yes.
Understand, as she says, understand that you have to read between the lines. That is what they're after. When they're saying, when she's talking about freedom of speech and speaking only what's allowed, that's censorship. Understand that that's what the left is actually after. When
Mhm.
he says MAGA and he got the understanding of really who MAGA is and what they represent, the the more positive magnitude, the more
Yes, not the
positive,
extreme.
not the
Not the extreme.
extremeness. I have to bring that up because we've experienced some of that. So and that, not that they're not uh they're there, but the larger of that group, of the MAGA group, of this MAGA family, when they asked like who, what era, he said the era like his uncle Kennedy. He said that era. And I love how he described, back then America was at its apex. The USA was the wealthiest country on the earth. Labor had dignity. There were good jobs. America was the moral authority and the moral code. And if you can't look at what we're living right now, it is like the Twilight Zone. Look around. They
Yes.
have diminished America to a laughing stock around the whole world.
Yes. And that's visually. We see.
Yes,
Here's the thing: the part that's the wholesome part of America is not being shown.
right.
We're just seeing the ridiculous
Yeah, the
part of it.
destruction. Yeah,
We're just looking at, saying,
the
I love
clown
I
show.
love that Hulk Hogan showed up with MAGA. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
Like I was like, rally team, I'm ready because that brought me back to the 80s,
Come
man. I
on,
went to
Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner. Nah, man, come on now. We ain't going Marvel yet. That's more liberalish.
Oh, well,
But
never
I'm
mind.
talking,
Never
I'm
mind. I
I'm
retract that
I'm
statement.
talking, I'm talking the WWE, baby.
Mm-hmm.
When it was actually the F, baby. The
Yeah.
attitude era,
Mhm.
baby.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels.
Oh, oh.
Oh my God, the best there is, the best there was, and the best there will ever be.
Y'all should see
The Hitman, baby. Come
this.
on now. You brought me back there. You
Yeah.
brought me back to Dunce. Dun, 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 ah, Road Warriors.
When they really did jump off the ropes.
Alternate Warrior. Jake the Snake. Ravishing Break Room for the ladies. Oh, I mean, I remember
Andre the Giant.
Andre
I'm
the
really, my head
Giant.
is going back to the 80s now.
No,
Here.
that's like 70s.
Yeah, I'm going way
Andre
back.
the Giant
From
is
when we
way.
grew
He was
up.
old. He was at the end of his rope. He was passing the
The torch.
he passed the torch to Hulk Hogan. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? The only man that ever slammed Andre the Giant was Hulk
Wow.
Hogan.
Yeah.
So when to pass that torch to a person like that, I'm sure that Hulk Hogan was honored.
Yeah.
Because honored, right? And then they came up with the Giant 2. You know what I'm saying? Everybody slammed him. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't have
I'm
the
not gonna speak on it because I
yeah,
keep.
it didn't have the same juice, but um like they did a good job with Lex Luger and Yokozuna. That was a great job. You know what I'm saying? Lex Luger was able to slam Yokozuna. That was beautiful. But back to what I'm saying, man. That's all I'm saying is that they don't show the wholesome side of America anymore.
Yeah.
They show the dark side because everybody wanted to see the dark side of Hollywood, the dark side of this, the dark side of that, behind the scenes, and all this stuff. You know what I mean? Behind the music, and he's sitting there crying and with a cigarette in his head in the bathroom, saying, "Whatever happened?" That kind of rise and fall kind of stuff. And we used to eat that up and say, "That's a shame that happened to that
Right.
boy." You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? We had compassion. Now they say Britney Spears underwear is showing. Oh my God,
It's
for
just a
real?
mess. It literally is
Like
like it's
try
a
they
hot mess.
destroyed their stars.
Yeah.
Destroy them. We
Mhm.
had compassion for our stars,
Yeah.
and they just don't have that
It was
anymore.
different.
So it's like when you show the worst side
Mm-hmm.
all the time, you
Mm-hmm.
tend to recreate that, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what they've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to show a good billionaire against a bad billionaire? Who knows the difference? Have
Right.
you ever been a
I'm about
billionaire?
to say we like regular people like us sit amongst billionaires. Like
Believe me, if you got a story to tell, you are disappearing. Trust me.
yeah.
You better not have a story to tell the last time somebody ever hear about you. You know, Either way, this is what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They used to get rid of their problems. You know what I'm
They
saying?
still do.
They still
That's how they
do.
move.
That's why you asked the question, how did we get so bad with abortion?
Yep.
How did we get this bad?
Mm-hmm.
They are demonizing us for demonizing them.
It's so crazy to the point where I'll just speak on that real quick and I'll finish this thought. It's so crazy. Like I was on because you gotta watch, you gotta watch. And it was on social media and I saw a comment about abortion, how in Georgia was passed instead of up to 6 weeks, now is up to 22 weeks.
Wow. So
And
you got literature on this?
yeah, and there are women that are actually for it, and you see it's a clear line drawn in the sand, and there's so many women like, no, come on, there's no way I'm killing my baby at 22 weeks. Are you kidding me?
Now,
There's no way that I'm doing that. And then you have other women are like telling these women and they're saying that's murder. I don't care what you're
yeah,
saying, it's murder.
at
And then
some point you got to cut it off.
yes. And then you have these other women that are like, well, mind your womb, whatever a woman does with her body to other women, whatever she's doing with her
Again,
body. Like, are
I've
you
said it
kidding me?
before and I'll say it again. When we was looking at when I was watching and this is what really, guys, I'm about to take you way back, learning y'all language, because I had no idea what she was saying,
Mhm.
but it was so good.
Uh-oh.
Girl writes what? Ooh, that woman, but she had my attention. This is why I can't leave YouTube. Girl,
Mm.
write what was up here. You know what I'm saying? When I came across her, I was like,
I'm gonna.
and they went after
They
her.
usually
Like
do.
they
Hmm.
tore her apart.
They usually do.
And I was watching this like, wow. So when we see you doing it to Donald Trump, it's like I've seen your pattern
Hmm.
for years.
Yep.
Nobody can talk against the feminist machine,
That's
the
how you
machine.
move.
Nobody,
Hmm.
because that's the one that's behind the whole thing.
The
The
machine.
machine, whatever machine that is, it could be the feminist machine. I don't know.
Hmm.
It could be a bigger machine than that.
I think that it's a combination of all of them.
But when the biggest argument is reproductive rights,
Come on.
and you're saying I'm not going back, what do you mean by saying that?
You mean
Because
to the
there's
America's
literature behind
glory? What are you talking about?
there's literature behind that people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I can't break
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
because it a nuke my
It'll
channel.
mess the yeah, yeah, it
You
will.
feel me? So
Hmm.
I have to be on some wise stuff and point to it.
Right.
You know what I'm
We
saying?
have
But
to be subliminal about it.
right, and I gotta hide it in a government cheese or something like this. This is government cheese, y'all. This is government cheese. The real conversation is not on YouTube. It can't be.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? This is government cheese, y'all. I'm giving you government cheese. But thank God y'all gave me something better than listen. I'm loving this. Continue.
And lastly, I just wanted to say about these 2 points where he said because you brought up Britney Spears and all this and like how they show the worst of the worst of the worst. And the sad statistics when he said that's what stood out to him when he asked his grandchildren or the people in his family, the younger generations, are you proud to be an American? And they said no, that this end quote, they feel they don't have accessibility to that American dream.
17%, I believe.
17% to the
Yeah.
American dream. 17% they feel like that they're alienated and they have no accessibility to the American dream. That is what we need to deal with.
But that is so not true.
How it's being presented. This is
It
what
is
happens.
absolutely not true. I am excited about all the immigrants that's going to pop up in the next 15 years saying, I got in illegally, but thank God I did.
Yes.
And I need to tell my story.
Hmm.
Because believe me, people came over here because they saw a chance. I saw a chance to leave New Jersey. I
Right,
took it.
right, right,
That's
right.
why I can't get mad at them.
Hmm.
I'm not talking about the criminals. Oh, you guys getting locked up. Trust me. You criminals. We don't play that here. We gonna lock you
You
up.
gotta go.
We gonna put you in the worst jails, baby. We know the real criminals.
Hmm.
We have real jails for you.
Hmm.
Believe me, we have real jails for you. We got play jails for other people. You feel me? You all right, you go to this one, get roughed up a little bit.
Go
You
to
be all
county.
right.
You go to the county.
You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Let you get beat up a little bit. All right, so you one of those. We won't put you in this place and
Hmm.
see how you work out there.
Hmm.
But if you one of those hardcore, I mean, we got a nice place for you.
Hmm.
And I think that's what they don't realize because they get away with that stuff where they came from.
Hmm.
You know what I
That's
mean?
that's what
We
happened.
don't
Yeah.
have that. What
Hmm.
they're trying to do is turn that into that.
Yes, and you
And
not doing that
we're
here.
not, like I said, there's entirely too many red blooded Americans that's not going to allow that to happen.
Hmm.
They're just waiting for the word.
Yes.
They just waiting for the word. They maintaining it and containing it. I think they're going to be
Mm.
all right because
Mm.
what happened to Tim Wall State was insane.
Oh my
I don't know
God.
how
Oh my
or
God.
what
Hmm.
was the cause behind that.
Hmm.
But for that, I saw the documentary. We're going to go across that. Thank you, David Utz. We're going to go ahead and listen to that. And I haven't got back to your email yet because I'm working through how I want to respond to you. So don't think I've forgotten about you. I got you right here. But I want to speak to my wife about it because you said a lot of things in your email that was just so profound for me.
Yeah.
It was touching. And I want to make sure that I respond to you properly. But back to this conversation, when you see that,
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, dog, you ain't no way. No,
Hmm.
no, you couldn't even. He couldn't protect the police station.
It's ridiculous. And
Well, the mayor, He was suspended. Aren't you the governor?
Like, why are you in the seat if you come on, just sit down. Bow out gracefully.
What do you mean you couldn't protect the police station?
Right. At best. I mean, there was a time when we still have the
I'm
sheriff.
sorry,
The sheriff, you
but
can't
ain't that
protect
where we
them.
keep all our police? How can you not? Okay. Wait. You can get everywhere else in the state in 5 seconds flat, but you can't.
Yeah, you need to be fired. You gotta go. And that goes for any.
They were soft fired and they didn't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
They wasn't allowed to do anything in that police precinct. They was begging
Jeez.
to escalate.
Yes. You see, it's like a pattern. And,
Yes.
you know, birds of a feather flock together. It's a pattern. They tie your hands.
Yes.
They tie your hands. They
Yes.
shut RFK Jr. up. They tried to shut Trump up. Can't say nothing. Go over there in the corner. Shut up and sit down.
Mm-hmm.
They tie your hands.
And don't worry about Springfield, Ohio. We looking at you. We watching you. I don't know if I'm the man to be watching, but I know somebody that probably run into me or run into RFK Jr. or whatever. Somebody's watching.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough for me.
Yeah.
Because somebody's watching. That's all that matters to me. And I think we're going to clean this up real lickety split once we get the right men in office. Go right ahead.
And then I wanted to say about how he said, and I appreciate this because of this dream team that Trump, whoever suggested, however it came about, you know, good move. That was well played. And so I appreciate how, I know you just love this team. When he said, RFK Jr. said, I have a great life. I don't want to go to Washington. I'm not like, he's not interested. I have a great life, but I want to deal with these kids with the chronic diseases. I have to come in here. I need to help Trump out. I've been helping him out. We've been meeting. And similarly to Trump, he don't have to do this.
Listen, he's going to love.
And the lambs, we don't have to do this.
Listen.
And what I was going to say is, but it's a choice. It's a choice.
He's going to love this part of it. It's going to be challenging. It's going to be tough. It's going to be rough, but you're going to love your next. This is going to be wild for you. And I know we got a lot more to go on this video. Maybe we will come back. Let's think about coming back probably tomorrow to finish this up. Because we ran out of time. Our children will be home very soon, and we don't want to interrupt their time of being home. They got a lot, going on in their school and stuff like that. So we want to go ahead and we're going to pause this and come back. So if we lost some points, this is a great place to stop. So we'll be right back. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. We are back. This is, I should say this is the next day.
It is.
It is after the 12 o'clock session of Waking Up with the Lambs. I mean, we decided to come back and do this the rest of it tomorrow. But
for today.
Which is today.
Yeah.
And we'll be premiering tonight, which is right now if you're watching it. But let's continue.
And when he says, make America great again, that's what he's talking about. And one of the things that we learned at home is that we not only had to be virtuous as a nation, we had to be virtuous as individuals. We had to, for example, tell the truth when we did something wrong. So one time I hit a baseball through my mom's window and broke it. And my dad said to me, before you answer this question, I want you to remember what George Washington did. He cut down the cherry tree. This is a story every American knew at that time. His father asked him who cut it down, and he said, I did. He always admitted when he was wrong. And now the Democratic Party has given us a loophole around that mandate. All you have to know is 7 words, and you never have to admit to doing anything wrong again. And do you know what those 7 words are? I was born in the middle class.
Now, okay, I want to pause right here because as much as I don't like to agree with him, it seems to me the hardest people to talk to about this stuff are those that are financially dependent on the current system.
Hmm.
Because when you are interconnected through the banking system, through 401ks, through corporations, through status, through titles, you tend to adopt their way of thinking. I remember having a conversation a long time ago
Mm-hmm.
with a friend of mine who was he was a personal trainer, and he worked as a personal trainer for years. He climbed up to be manager, assistant manager, sales manager, so on and so forth. So when they let him go, and I'm sitting here having a conversation with him, and he's telling me why they let him go, I'm asking him, are you defending the corporation, or are you talking for yourself?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Because I was hitting with him with some hard questions. I'm not going to go into it because it's not necessary, but I was hitting him with a lot of questions, and he kept defaulting to the corporate answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Mike, I'm calling Mike.
That's not his
Mike,
name,
that's
but
not his name. Mike, I'm really having a hard time deciphering whether I'm talking to you
mm-hmm.
or the corporation.
Yep.
Because after they've done you door dirty, you're still defending them.
Can you imagine?
He called me a couple of days later and he said, Gary, you were absolutely right. I actually sat down and thought about it
Mm-hmm.
and went over the conversation in my head, and you're absolutely
Like,
right.
why did I take up for these people?
I was taking up for them because for so many years I had to think and operate like that
Mm-hmm.
to get along with my job.
Mm-hmm.
It's so callous how people have gotten. They become NPCs. You know what an NPC is,
The
right?
NPC player. How
Yes.
you and the boys always telling me?
Right.
Okay.
Non-playable character. It's pretty much a drone inside of a game
Mm-hmm.
that has set commands, and you once you ask a certain question, they go to this particular command,
Mm-hmm.
and they go forward. It's almost like when you call to talk to a real person,
Mm-hmm.
but they're really reading from the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So all you're doing is basically listening to a person tell you what the computer said.
Yep.
And that's what's going on in the middle class.
Mm.
It's a whole lot of NPC characters. So when they get around someone like, I don't know, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's fighting against this thing,
Right.
and they come across Trump, because you see a lot of people coming into my comment section. This is not true. Trump is a disgrace. No facts. Trump is a disgrace. He's terrible. He could do this as he doesn't have to be a president to do this. Not true. I mean, all these things, and I'm like, you must be middle class, and you must be fearful, and I understand why. You don't know how to survive without the banks. You've never had to before.
Yep.
You've been financed your entire life,
Mm-hmm.
so of course you're happy with loan forgiveness. Why wouldn't you be?
Well, you was so much debt, of course you're gonna like
Exactly.
loan forgiveness.
You know what I'm saying? This sounds great for you
Mhm.
because you're used to borrowing money that you didn't earn. So I get where he's coming from.
Yeah, that was spot on what you were saying. Like you were talking about, I don't know who that person was a billionaire, millionaire who no. He is a billionaire, but
No, he's a millionaire.
something, and then but when they said, oh, you have to
Bernie
tax taxed them, and he was like, oh well, and just like omitted who he is, because you ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna include me in this. But I liked where RFK Jr. said uh that that America was virtuous as a nation, but to be virtuous as a nation, you have to be virtuous as a person.
Right.
And
Oh my God. Yes, so true.
and he said that George Washington with the apple, etc., that you tell the truth when you do something wrong, and he always told the truth. So if you look at this, it's accountability, like accountability 101. Like, I appreciate Vance when he started to have his discussions, and he was on CNN, and he spoke with Dana Dash, and he retracted, and she was like, well, you had a problem with Trump in the beginning, blah 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 blah, and he was like, you know what, I did, and this is why, and I feel this way now. I did I don't feel this way now, and this is why. When he was talking about even RFK Jr., he says it in the beginning here, and he says it often. He's been a Democrat his whole life. He didn't like Trump, blah 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 blah. But this is how I feel now. When Vance was talking to Dana Dash, and he said there's a difference from misspeaking, oh, I misspoke, and flat out lying. He
Right.
said, oh, this I misspoke, and he corrected it. He said, no, what Tim Walz did was lie.
Mhm.
When you're known to be a habitual liar, everything, and it's been documented. That's probably why the Harris campaign wanted to retract. Basically, I look at it that they wanted to retract their the debate, and get at Trump again. Why? Because everyone knew, okay, this girl was your sorority sister. You have in cahoots or whatever with this news station. So of course the only ones you wanted to talk on was there, and actually a list of how many lies she told
Right.
in that debate. And when you have someone who actually was served in the military, he's a veteran, okay? He's a veteran. There's so many that are veterans that have given their life, their limbs,
Hmm.
and I believe are not being treated right as vets to this day. And you lied about your service, and you still haven't corrected your lie.
Well, that is so far beyond problem now
Yeah.
that it's like I don't care if you do at this point. We
Yeah.
know the
Your
truth, and
character speaks
your
for you.
character
This is the
speaks too
issue.
high of don't trust,
Right.
right? Um, I gotta look into this because I'm almost certain that Vance says something to the effect of, "I thought we wasn't fact checking,"
Mm.
and they fact checked Vance.
Did they?
Yeah, they tried,
Mm-hmm.
and he punished them
I
heavily.
bet.
But I because they did the same thing to Trump, and they
Mm-hmm.
came out with the same rule book
Mm-hmm.
with Vance, because I'm starting to realize that this party does not practice at all. They recite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They recite. They need teleprompters
Yeah.
because they don't study.
Mm-hmm.
It don't look like they study. It
Mm-hmm.
looks like they yes, they have a lot of information that has been put in front of them,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very good at reciting the terms of the engagement. But when they're really pushed and challenged, they fall apart.
Yes. Yeah.
They fall apart. So now they have to put all these extra rules. I remember you used to be there was this guy, I forget his name. He was on Jubilee. And I'm gonna put a picture of him right now. He went up against a whole bunch of woke college people,
Oh yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
There was no mediators.
Mm-hmm.
There was no people stopping you from talking.
Yeah.
Basically, what it was like they had the college students had flags, and if they
Mm-hmm.
get a certain amount of flags,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to switch out the student
Oh,
that's
that's
talking to
good.
him.
Mm-hmm.
So if that student says something about Jesus
Mm-hmm.
in a positive way, they will flag her
Oh.
and get her out of there so she can't say anymore. So it was more of a
Sounds familiar.
discrepancy, right? It was more of a
Like the debate with Trump, but yeah.
it was more of a
Sorry.
grievance
Mm-hmm.
towards the uh the college person who
Right.
was representing
Uh-huh.
their group, if you
Mm-hmm.
will, against this
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
gentleman. But they was coming at him with every. I
I'm
mean,
sure.
they was going off topic. They was cutting him off. They had full reign to talk to him any kind of way they wanted to,
Wow.
as long as it wasn't disrespectful.
Wow.
And he held his own.
Wow. Yeah.
Fast forward to a presidential debate,
This is what I'm saying.
and you need safety guards.
Mhm. That's what
America,
I was
listen to
saying.
this. Listen to this. You want a president that needs help in a debate? That's what you want?
That's what I was saying when I watched that debate with Harris and Trump. I said, she would bomb horribly at the high school debate team. I'm letting you know.
Not even that. She will bomb everywhere.
Well, she has been.
She can't hold her own.
Yeah.
She can. Her and Walls need mitigators,
Right.
mediators, people to turn Vance off, to put rules into play, to basically what they did was take a Ferrari
Uh-oh.
and put a governor on it, forcing it to stay under 60 miles per hour. That's what they did
a
to
Ferrari.
Vance, right? They took a Ferrari and put a governor, and now he can't go faster than 60 miles an hour.
It's like, when you know that you have a formidable opponent, you would think that you don't want any parameters, nothing, because you want to know that you won fair and square.
Yes.
Because that's the true tell sign of a real athlete, so to speak, or someone that's worth their salt at all. You know what I mean? But the fact that they have to go through such extremes up and until the extreme of nearly assassinating this man.
Yeah.
I mean, they just it's just dirty.
Listen, now,
Dirty.
and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. It comes down to this assassination. That was the no for me.
Yeah.
That's what brought me back to this.
Mhm.
I was getting ready to start playing video games with my boy. We was going to go and start doing that. I was going to come away from all this and just
the online. Oh,
I
yeah.
was going to go.
People are like, "Oh, do you know how much?" He's like, "You know how much money I could make? Are you kidding me?"
I was about to disappear into video games, guys. Like I created a whole new account on Twitch. I got me a kick account. I got me a whole new YouTube account, and all that was just designed to play video games, so I can speak to the different audience based upon what I like to do, right? And that's what I was going to go after, because there's plenty of money in that, and I have the charisma, I have the pizzazz, I have the ability, I have the capability, I have all those things. But when I saw them go after Trump and they shoot at Trump, I was like,
absolutely not.
That's beyond a no.
Yeah.
Right. So I came back to this just to find out that people were saying they were upset that he missed.
It's just foul. I'll tell you. This is the day and time that we live in.
Are you serious?
This is, I mean, come on, put aside your feelings about the man. See, this is the issue. Hatred doesn't have a color. You want someone purposely, you feel like he should have lost his life. Come on.
I'm not playing this game with you. Like, I'm cutting you out of my world if you think that way.
Yeah.
That way of thinking cannot last to the next generation.
Yes, that has to go.
That has to die.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to tell you that mentality must die with you.
Yes. We can't keep
because of a disagreement. What did the man do to you?
So repeat after me. I was born in the middle class. So the next time your boss asks you why you were late for work, what are you going to say? And the next time your wife asks you why you didn't take out the garbage, what are you going to say? And the next time your landlord asks you for the rent check, what are you going to say? That's all you have to know. And you don't have to answer any question. And we know
Now,
why.
what do you feel about that? What do you feel about that? Do you feel anything about that?
I think it's obnoxious.
Why do you feel that is not obnoxious? Because I can see your face.
Um, I mean, like you were saying, like we've worked for liberals our whole life. And so I can, I guess I'm placing this statement that Harris has made, um, and just the fact that she made it in all these different key moments that she could have shown compassion to the people that are suffering and laughed in their faces or gave that plastered smile or, you know, the word salads and this nonsense that she says. Um, and then I've put that face and that statement onto the different faces of people that I've interacted with over time in my career, in my, you know, vocation and different things. And it's like, wow, you really don't care. You don't. I remember when we worked in New Jersey, and it's like especially, it's not only New Jersey, it's many employers, but I'm talking about, like, you know, high competitive um parts of the country as far as, you know, industries and stuff. They do not care if it's 10 feet of snow outside. They
Want you to
don't
show up.
care that your children are sick. They don't care that you're sick. They don't care. And I just had a flash of memory of the different employers and the different people who were so blatant even up until moving here in the airport. But I enjoyed the industry itself. It's usually, like, one of my coworkers who's a senior worker there said, is usually management. It usually is never really the company, so to speak. It's management, it's upper management, it's the people that you deal with on a day-to-day basis that you have to report to and all this stuff. So it's just like, listening to that. Well, I was born in the middle class. It's insensitive, and it's very blatant. Put aside how you feel about Trump, all the derogatory terms. I don't like it. I don't like the you know, using the slanderous words for any of them. I don't like it.
Right.
So put aside how you feel, but you know compassion when you see it, and you know disdain and a callous way when you see it and when you feel it. And when you see a sitting president on vacation when people are underneath water, and um, one that is currently in office and trying to run for the most powerful seat, and you're just too busy. You're too busy. I remember when Hurricane Katrina happened. We had just gotten married. It was in the early 2000s, and it was horrific. And people to this day still haven't fully recovered. I mean, they've rebuilt a lot of the area, but it was devastating and heart wrenching to watch on TV. I remember I was sitting there crying, just like, oh my God, the people, they're on top of their roofs. They're screaming. They're like, come get us, help us. Where are y'all? Where are y'all? FEMA and all of them. And they just took the money just like they did now. We said from way back then, don't you donate to FEMA. Don't you donate, even the Red Cross, certain ones, just, you know what I mean? They take the money. But here we are almost 20 years later. And this storm, by the statistics, I was looking at it yesterday, was worse than Katrina.
Yeah.
And where are the people that are supposed to be here to rescue them? There's people in the states, and they're like, you know what, forget you, you know, president and vice president. You're currently in the seat. The governor of our state, they're here for us. They're doing their job. They're doing your job. And here's Trump again. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, well, you know, he's running for president. What about the one that is in the seat? Oh well, he's supposed to do that. He's trying to get your vote. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you would think the other one that's trying to get your vote would even show her face.
he's trying to get your vote. And he's doing a damn good
If
job
that's
doing
the
it.
case, you know what? You got the vote.
Right. Like, yeah. Listen, I mean, if you're going to lie to me right.
Oh
You know what I
my
mean? Like
goodness.
if you like don't show me you absolutely don't care.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just my point. My look, let's back to the backup.
That middle class thing,
I
it's
know
like,
you have a
whoa.
problem with it because I know it's very bitey at you. Like,
Yeah.
how can you say that? And why would you say that? That's such a blatant, broad statement and stuff like that. But
It's coupled
um,
with what she's already done.
right, but he's not talking about Kamala. He's
Mhm.
talking about the actual middle
Yes, the actual
class
middle class.
of this country.
Yes, the ones who, that's what I said. It's not just her. There's many that are just like her. I've worked for them.
Right. But so what I'm saying is that even though that might sound insensitive to say, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'm going to keep reiterating the things that I say because it's very important for me to say it. I've seen y'all behind closed doors.
Mhm.
I've seen y'all in your rare form. I see y'all hit the roof. I've seen y'all say, well, I'm taking a spa day with my daughter.
Uh-huh.
I've seen you do those things.
Taking a mental health day.
You're taking a mental health day. Meanwhile, when it's snowing outside and I'm under 4 feet of snow,
Mhm.
I still have to find my way to work.
Mhm.
Because if I don't, I can possibly be written up. And if you get 3 of those in a row, you're fired. So there's a lot that goes along with this, right? There's nothing wrong with the middle class. Let me say this. There's nothing wrong with being middle class. It's your attitude and your behavior behind it. If you're treating those who work for you like they're peasants, they're not going to like you very much.
Mhm.
All right. They'll do what they have to do because they need the paycheck. But believe me, they don't like you very much. So when you have the nerve to come at me and say you're being delusioned, I'm like, are you serious?
This is my real life. I'm not playing as this was described of Harris. I'm not in an act here. This is my real life.
You forget I had to live it, right? While you was sitting there getting your nails done through a freaking depression, I was outside holding a sign saying, "We'll work for food." Now, I didn't do that
Right.
personally, but there's men and women now that have to do that while you're going to get your nails done. I'm going to say that again. While you're going to get your nails done, you have people outside holding signs.
Mhm.
Tell me that's not like, and then you get mad at Elon Musk for wanting to send rockets in the air. I had one woman have the nerve to say to me, and all this money Elon is spending on these rockets, who needs to go into to space? And I'm looking at her like, you're getting a joyride to work because you don't feel like driving.
Oh, when you were, it was customer.
Yeah, she was a customer. And I was like, oh, okay. So what makes you think that? This is exactly what I said to her. What makes you think that? I wish I had the footage, but so many years ago. What makes you think that? She said, because with all the resources he has, he can do this, he can do that, he can do that, he can do this. I said, oh, okay. Do you live in a house? She said, yeah. I said, how many rooms do you have in your house? She said, I have 3 bedrooms. I said, oh, okay. Why don't you rent one of those rooms out to someone that's less fortunate? Oh, I have kids. They can bunk up. Well, that's not the same. No, it is the same thing. You have more than me, so why can't I move in with you?
I think that we are going to soon see, even with, prayerfully that Trump does get into office, but even with him in office, we are going to soon see the detriment, what they have done in their current administration, to affect our country. the cleanup that he has to do and all of that. I think that um we're going to soon see, and I'm not putting out word curses and nothing crazy like that. I'm praying for the best for our country. We need some help. But it it's always the ones that think it can never happen to them.
Yeah.
Oh well, I've set up my life where it wouldn't be that way. Wonderful for you. It could happen to you too.
Yes.
Yes, you too.
Yes. Don't forget Enron. Don't forget Enron. All those people was riding high, and boom, gone in a day. 401k gone. But the CEOs got off like a dirty shirt.
Hmm. So we can look at the, quote, higher powers that be, etc., like the CEOs, if that's what you want to say. But we have to be. I think that the conscious of America, one way or another, is going to come back. And when RFK Jr. said that America was virtuous, America had a conscience. America was a virtuous nation. And that doesn't come without a lot of time, without pain, without real decisions, dealing with your conscience and dealing with, I don't know. We're from Jersey, right? And the only thing I miss are like the bodegas. Of course, I love ones, but I really don't miss much about the area. The food, really. But I got an email um, from the political side. This is years ago, okay? I mean, I am not affiliated with any of that, and I got some email from the Harris campaign. I'm like, where are y'all from? Because I didn't even vote for Democrat back then. So how y'all even got my email?
Yeah.
And it talked about, because they're copycats. They mimic.
Yeah.
We're fighting for the soul of our country. That's what the email said, with Biden and Harris on the page. And that's what's happening here. So, like the soul, I believe, is the will, the intellect, the emotions, the mind, the heart, all of that. America's soul is sick. And one way or another, we gonna get some medicine, because the power that, like RFK Jr. said in the first half that we were talking about, America, they're saying, they are meaning the Democratic Party. Lots of the Democrats are saying we're not going back, and we're not talking about the same thing. We're not saying the same thing. We want to go back to, like RFK Jr. said, where America had its splendor. America was powerful. And still is powerful, but not the way that it was back then. And so it's going to take what's happening now. It's going to take some very terrible things, I believe, to get the country back to where it needs to be.
I hope we can just talk this through, but it's starting to seem like we can't. No matter what we say, you got people running around just doing everything they can to try to convince me that my life didn't fall apart because of the very laws and policies you want to play right now.
Right.
It's like you keep having me. You're trying to get me to see your side of the fence when I'm outside of the fence.
Right.
I can't see your side of the fence because I'm not allowed in there
Uh-huh.
without being invited or working.
Yep.
So I can't get there. You know what I'm saying? The only time I get into your side of the fence or on your side of the fence is when I'm delivering something to you or dropping you off.
Yep.
And I can't stay for long. I got to leave right after that. So I get to see how you live.
Yeah.
You don't get to see how I live because you bypass me completely.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I say this is how we live in, and you'll just say that's a shame, turn the channel and go back to your life.
Unless you have your little 2 cents. And I don't care about subscribers. It's not that. It's just the keyboard warriors that have so much to say. And Edgar and the rest of y'all have so much to say. Then I look on the page and I'm like, with 2 subscribers or no profile pic, you just come up here to complain. You come up here to air your grievances, but what change are you really affecting? Our lives are on the line.
Yes.
Our faces are out here. It's been out here for years. We have not originally wanted to do this. You have a call on your life. You have an assignment on your life. So you try to be, submit to that and do what you're supposed to do. But it's easy to come on somebody else's channel
Who's already built an
who
audience.
already started it. It's already established, and come and give your little 2 cents and then go about your merry way. Come and wreak havoc, start arguments, disrupt and bring disruption and distortion, and then go about your merry way. That's not how you fix things.
And you know what I'm noticing that my audience is doing? Ignoring them.
Yes. Yes.
My audience is starting to just ignore
And
them.
that's how it goes.
Because at first, most of my audience, and I've witnessed this from day one, most of my audience do not comment.
Yeah.
And the ones that were commenting was trying to give them the information, because they honestly thought that this, and me too, I fell for it too.
Yeah.
I actually thought you was really wrestling with this and you needed support.
Yeah.
To find out you're just trying to debunk what I already believe and think. You're not trying to find understanding.
Right.
You're trying to convince me.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm not here to
be convinced. Right. I'm fully convinced.
I'm already convinced that I'm voting for Trump.
What do you mean?
That happened in 2020.
You're a little too late, honey.
I got a third time to vote for him now. That's the only reason. I'm like, you gave me 3 chances to vote for Trump. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I was voting for Trump no matter what. Now, I will say this, Trump, Donald. Man, I love you. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. You're a funny, funny, funny business.
Bless his heart.
I will. If I can, it would be an honor to meet Trump. It would be an honor to meet Trump. Not so much like I gotta meet him because, oh my God, he's everything the heart's desires. No, he's still a man. You know what I'm saying? If
yes.
he sneezes, if he sneezes, I'm like, did you just sneeze on
He
me?
is still a man.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's still a man. But at the same time, it would be an honor to meet him. With that said, if he was going against Vance,
oh, many people are saying that.
Oh, wait a minute. Listen, that would have been now that I'm like, challenge.
You know what? Let's talk about it in 2028.
Yeah, well, he would never go against
No.
Vance, but he can't. But this would be his last term.
Yeah.
So he would never be able
no.
He won't even be able to be a vice president.
Yeah.
But I'm saying this to big up Vance. I'm not trying to.
No, not nobody's discrediting Trump.
That if Vance was a candidate going against Trump, then maybe that would have been a different. Now that would have been a challenge, right? But that didn't happen. He turned Vance into his running mate.
Yeah.
And my thing is this is like,
that's great.
When you have a dynamite team like that. Oh man, the only thing that could beat a team like that is a husband and wife team. You know what I'm saying? That's because it's like that team is dynamite. So I'm excited. I'm excited. Let's just.
I just wanted to say that last part when you talked about you said you're trying to convince me. I'm already convinced. I just wanted to make that point that Trump is following what I believe. I truly believe that he, like we all get to this point in our life, right? And if it like my mom always says, and this is older saying, if it hasn't happened for you yet, keep on living. Yeah. I do believe that Trump has gotten to the point of his life, even before now. I believe this came to him like, I need to do this. Yeah. This is my purpose. I need to do this. I did everything else I wanted to do. If thinking of him, but this is my, end all that be all. This is the coin of phrase. This is what will be on my tombstone. I must fulfill this purpose for my life. So these past, people are saying 8 years, but he went to jail and right.
Well,
no, he wasn't in jail.
Go to jail. He got,
excuse me, I retract that. He didn't go to jail. Yeah. They were trying to put him in jail. Yeah. But what I'm the part I mean about that is because that part that these years that he went through, he's convicted. He went through hell is what I'm trying to say.
things he would never have gone through had he not gone for the
and
presidency.
voluntarily, stood in this place that he's in. And so when you're talking about trying to convince somebody, you're a little late
Yeah.
when it comes to the lambs. We've been through hell in the past 3.5, going on 4 years. There is no convincing over here. I promise you, you're wasting your time. You are arguing with yourself, because when you go through something like that, you come out with fire. You come out with a focus, which is exactly where we're at. And I see that same fire in Trump. I see it in him.
I see it in all these
In that
men
team, yes.
and women on this
I
team.
see it.
I see it. I see how they went after Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
Guys,
It's so
they
wrong.
went after her hard,
It's wrong.
and which convinced me not even women can get by this.
No, this is a fight here.
This is not a fight for. This is not about feminism.
No.
This is about power.
Uh-huh.
And when you realize it's about power, now you can you can target the right person.
Mm-hmm.
Evil.
I was about to say
And it's
good
like,
versus
once you-
evil.
It's like, oh, this is just evil.
Mhm.
And once you realize what you're going against, I don't care what the Clintons do, they're gonna get cleaned up. I don't care what Obama did, he's gonna get cleaned up. I don't care what Biden did, what Walz did. I don't care what none of y'all did. Y'all gonna get cleaned up because the evil will throw their vessels out
Yeah. Yeah.
as a as a token, so you can leave him alone. All right, don't think for 1 second he's loyal to you guys. He's not. He's not even loyal to his damn self. He's not loyal. So you're going to sit here and you got all this, because trust me, that list is going to come out and we're going to find out who's doing all this human trafficking. It might take 15 years, it might take 50 years, but we're going to find you. Game, set, match is going to happen.
Yes.
The trailers, we already got your scent. We're going to find you. It's just a matter of time. All we got to do is run out your money. That's it. And eventually your money will run out. It's just what it is. So I'm not worried about the people getting caught. I'm worried about them being delivered.
Yeah, we want them free from this.
Are they going to ask for forgiveness from Jesus? Are they going to ask Jesus to forgive them? That's where I'm at. I want to see them get delivered. I don't want to see nobody go to hell. I don't want to see nobody go to hell. Period. Yeah. But corruption needs to stop. And this is the route to corruption. This is what happens. Everybody makes mistakes. But just like RFK said, if you're making the mistake and trying to hide it,
right,
that's the sin.
That's the issue.
That's the sin. You because now you've not only made the mistake, now you are purposely trying to hide it so somebody else can pay for it. Somebody's gonna have to pay for that broken window.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
You might as well tell the truth.
Yep.
You might have to rake a yard or take out some garbage or whatever, what have you, community service, but at least it's over.
Yes.
You have your integrity intact. Now, I don't trust you to freaking flip burgers.
Answer that question, because there's no good answer to it. By every indicia in which we measure the welfare of our economy, the Trump administration excelled, and the Biden-Harris administration has failed us. Inflation on average during the Trump administration was held under 7%. Now it's at 20%. Gross rents have almost doubled. Mortgages have more than doubled in just 3.5 years. Groceries have gone up. Gasoline has gone up. Electricity has gone up. Healthcare has gone up. Do you know the only thing that's gone down? Wages. So though that is not a success story, and I don't blame her, for not wanting to answer that question. It was a question that was almost impossible for her to answer truthfully and still walk out of that debate. So the Democratic Party that I grew up with, the Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy, of Robert Kennedy, does not exist today. This was the party of peace. Today, it's the party of war. And we saw President Zelensky come over here. I was so proud of President Trump today, who did a press conference with Zelensky. And the Democrats had done their own press conference. And you know what he got them to do? He got them to sign artillery shells. These are artillery shells that are going to be dropped on women and children. And he got them to sign something else, an $8 billion additional check. Don't you think we could use that money over here in this country?
So I just want to say something real quick. Why don't men matter in that bombing? Now I know that's a talking point, women and children, but why is it okay to expend male life? So in our country, the only life that matters is women and children's life. So when does the young boy life stop mattering? What age? Just throwing that out there for all you who completely ignore the fact that men die in wars every time. Not just some of the time, every time.
Yes.
This was a war that we were lied to from day one. We were told that it was an unprovoked invasion. We weren't told that Vladimir Putin and every other Russian leader told us for 30 years, if you go into Ukraine, we're going to have a military reaction. It is a red line for us. Ukraine has a 2,200-mile border with Russia. They've been invaded 3 times through Ukraine. Last time, Hitler killed 1 out of every 7 Russians. If we put Aegis missile systems in Ukraine, like we've done in Romania and Poland, which they also told us don't go in there, those missiles, Tomahawk missiles, which can be nuclear tipped, will be 3 miles from Moscow. We could decapitate the entire Russian leadership in 3 minutes. My uncle, when the Russians tried to put missiles in Cuba, was going to go to war. And if Putin tried to put missiles in Canada or Cuba or Mexico, we would go to war. So we had to expect that they would do exactly what they told us we were going to do. And if you go into Ukraine with NATO, we're going to go to war. And 2 days before the invasion, Kamala Harris went to Germany and said definitively, for the first time by any US leader, we are moving NATO into Ukraine. And that is something that we all need to understand, that provocation. And I was so proud of President Trump because everybody says that he alienates people all over the world. He doesn't know how to be a diplomat. But he was the epitome of diplomacy, and I urge you to go look at the YouTube.
I'm gonna watch that.
Epitome of diplomacy.
Yeah, but Trump has changed a lot.
Yeah, it changes you.
Yeah.
I'm civil to President Zelensky. He was also firm in his resolve. And he said, I've had a nice meeting, but I have not changed my mind. We need a peace, and we need to do it very quickly. And we need to protect US interests, not an interest of a country in which we have no strategic interest and no treaty. And he was polite, he was kind, but he was firm in protecting our country. And that's what Donald Trump will always do. And
I believe that.
And it was especially impressive to me because I know what Donald Trump was thinking while he was having that meeting. He was thinking, I want to turn this guy over and hold him by his legs and shake all the money out of his pockets. And I hope it adds up to $208 billion because that's what we get. That's what the Democrats gave him. And we need to bring that money home and spend it here on our communities.
Now, this is the part that I don't think a lot of people understand, um, because when you move the decimal point over just once to the left,
Mm,
it knocks out hundreds, if not thousands, of Americans from they knock them out of the financial sector. It locks them out.
yeah,
When you start spending money at this level, the first people to feel it are the ones on the bottom.
always,
Okay.
always.
It the drought starts at the poor level first.
Mhm,
Okay. And surprise, surprise, the poor doesn't have a voice because nobody's representing the poor,
mhm.
which is the reason why my wife and me are here representing the poor. If I had $100,000 sitting in my bank account, I wouldn't be doing this. And that's a fact. That's not a weakness in me. That's just human nature.
Yeah.
Okay. So I because we've gotten to taste the sweet life
Mhm,
of being financially stable, to be knocked off our horse, if you will, to fall down here, to see what it's like to live down here,
mhm. To drink their bitter cup now.
to see what it's like to actually go to a buy here, pay here. My God,
Mhm.
to actually see what it's like to actually have to get. Do you have any guys? I'm going to ask, do you know what it's like to try to pull money off the system with a prepaid card, without a bank account? They will charge you $3.25 to get cash. To get cash, folks. $3.25. You might look at that, that's not a big deal. That's huge when you only have $70 for the month. And that's what happens when you fall so far down. If you don't have a skill or an ability or something, 9 times out of 10, you would either wind up on the streets, turn to drugs or crime. And that's what's happened to a lot of people. They've turned to drugs and crime, and they don't care about America. They don't care about you. This is why when he said 17%
Yeah.
are proud to call themselves Americans. 17%.
Only 17%. They feel that it's not even attainable for them, so why care?
Why even care?
Mhm.
It's so far away.
Yep.
But it gets better. It gets better. When you fight for your right to live in this country, you will win it. But you're going to have to fight. You got to fight illegal immigrants. You got to fight legal immigrants. You got to fight prejudice.
Mhm.
You got to fight the aristocrats. You got to fight classism. You got to fight all kinds of stuff to get to the place where you can actually be considered an American again. Because right now, me and my wife are considered poor. We are seen like we're poor. We're treated like we poor until somebody actually get to know us personally. Once they get to know us and they start seeing our work ethic, the look starts to blur a little bit. And they start asking weird questions. So where you come from? Because now they really want to know, like, because you're not the traditional poor person. You actually smiling, you're actually happy, you're actually laughing. How can you be so broke and be happy? Well, because we got each other. But believe me, it was hell on wheels trying to get to where we are right now. Really hard. So I really want you guys to understand we are representing the people that don't have representatives.
Yeah.
Because the only time a poor person is going to ever get on somebody's podcast is if somebody with a podcast go outside and get a poor person. That's it. That person will never think. First of all, the person can't afford to get on a podcast. They don't have the cellular data to even go live,
You're right.
much less keep up with it so they can actually get an audience to tell their side of the story.
Yeah.
Don't you think you deserve a president who is going to make peace with the world? Who is going to project economic power abroad? They say he's an isolationist. He isn't. He wants to make deals. He's a deal maker. He wants to make deals with China, but not the old kind of deals that benefited only China. He wants to make deals that are going to benefit everybody. He wants to make deals with Russia, the kind that will bring the world into a peaceful economic growth and a boom for all nations. This is what he says again and again. He's not a tyrant. He's not a monster. He just wants the best for the United States of America. And don't you... The Democratic Party that I grew up with was the party of constitutional rights, of civil rights, and particularly the right of freedom of speech, which my uncle and my father treasured. They thought this is the basis. A fundamental bedrock of American democracy is the free flow of information. And when government gets involved in censoring information, that is the beginning of totalitarianism. And we know this because we read Orwell and Aldous Huxley and Robert Heinlein and Alexander Solzhenitsyn and Arthur Kessler when we were growing up. And that was the lesson that was repeated in civics lessons again.
I've never read any of those books.
One thing that you never allow a government to do is to censor speech of any kind. And if you do that, is the first step down the slippery slope of totalitarianism. So the Democrats are trying to say that Donald Trump hates democracy, that he wants to be a dictator, but they're all advocating now, openly advocating the censorship of our speech.
Yes.
And what they say is, well, we don't want to censor all speech, just the lies. But they want to determine what's the truth and what's a lie. And who was the biggest perpetrator of lies during the COVID epidemic? It was the government itself. They were the ones promoting disinformation and misinformation.
They were the one that came up with the terms and the rules.
I saw
and the virus.
Hillary Clinton,
Talking about
Tim Walz,
all of it.
and Kamala Harris all using the same talking point. That the next administration is going to get rid of misinformation and disinformation because that is not protected by the First Amendment. Well, it is. The First Amendment protects lies the same as it protects speech, truth. The First Amendment was not written to protect the kind of speech that we all want to hear. It was written for hard times, protect the speech that nobody wants to hear. And that is the fundamental foundation stone of democracy, that everybody gets to say, to have their own truth. And as Louis Brandeis said, the remedy for bad speech is not censorship, never, because that turns to totalitarianism. The remedy for bad speech is more speech. And that's something that Donald J. Trump understands because he's been censored himself. And he understands it very acutely. He's seen the weaponization of the federal agencies to silence him, to destroy the electoral process, as they did to me. The Democratic Party has not had an election. They're saying that he's destroying democracy, but they felt the need to destroy democracy in order to save it. They would not let me participate in the primary. And Kamala Harris never got a single primary vote. We don't know who appointed her.
I've been saying
And
that.
that's not democracy. President, don't you want a president who believes in democracy? Don't you want a president who wants to see the censorship ended in this country? Don't you want a president who's going to end the surveillance state and make our country the beacon of freedom around the world once again? And the party that I grew up in was the party that was very skeptical of the corporate control of American democracy. The Republican Party was the party of corporate control. The Democrats were on the side of working people, of the poor, of the cops, the firefighters, labor unions. And today, there's been an inversion. During the 2020 election, roughly 50% of the people in this country supported the Democratic Party, and roughly 50% supported the Republican Party. But the 50% who supported the Democratic Party own 70% of the wealth in this country. The 50% who supported Donald Trump own 30%. As Charlie Kirk said to me the other day, Donald J. Trump chased the billionaires out of the Democratic Party. Out of the Republican Party, excuse me. The Democratic Party today is the party of big pharma, big tech, big ag, big food, the military industrial complex, and Wall Street. Look at the people who are pouring money into the Harris campaign.
Yes.
Why they've collected 2 to 3 times more money than Donald Trump. They have all the money on their side. We have the people.
So you can make your videos look pretty and polished. You can get a whole team of people to do all the research and stuff like that to make the right commercial and all this other stuff. You can buy all the ads to snuff out the people's voices. But what you cannot do is stop me from voting in November.
Right.
You can't stop me from doing that. Your money no longer matters to me. Do you understand that? There was a time where I would have shut my mouth for a loaf of bread. That day is over.
Right. Yes.
Okay? That day is over because I know what your loaf of bread buys me. More taking your SHIT.
It costs me.
It costs too much now. I'd much rather just say, hey, babe, we gonna be fasting for 40 days and 40 nights.
Right.
Got a little bit of olive oil we can just sip on for a couple of weeks. I love you dearly, baby. I will lose weight with you, but I'm going to say what I need to say because I know what this leads to. It leads to more poverty. It leads to more corruption. It leads to more tyranny. It leads to more control. Soon they will be able to walk in your house and pick your guns up while you're dead. They'll just wait you out. You ain't got to worry about them handing them over. They'll just come get them after you die in your house. This is what I'm saying. They don't care. They'll just let you die off if that's the case. They'll forget about you. But surprise, surprise, we're using the same engine that you use to silence Trump, to big up Trump.
And don't you want a president of the United States who, instead of outsourcing U.S. jobs and manufacturing capacity abroad to China and to Latin America and to other countries, is going to get other countries to outsource their manufacturing and jobs to Michigan, like Falk that we're standing in now. And don't you want a president who is going to protect our border? Raise your hand if you think it's a good idea that the Mexican drug cartel, the Sinaloa cartel, is now running U.S. border policy. That's not good for our country. Do you think that's good for our country? No. It's terrible, and it's terrible for working people. In the last 10 years of his life, I worked very, very closely with Cesar Chavez, who was a very close political ally and personal friend of my father. During that, and I was a pallbearer at his funeral in 1993. But during that period, I was working with him on pesticide issues because Hispanic farm workers, 15,000 of them are poisoned, many of them killed by pesticide exposures every year, and their families are devastated. Cesar Chavez's other big issue was closing the U.S. border because he understood, and I was at the border many times. The first time I went down between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and I saw there's 27 gaps in the wall that were left by the Biden administration when they shut down construction the day they came into office. And all the material that we've already paid for is sitting right next to those gaps in the wall. They could easily rebuild them right now. President Harris says there's nothing I could do. Yeah, there is. You could just finish the wall. And when I was down there at 2 o'clock in the morning, it looked like the start of the Boston Marathon. There were people, humanity pouring across, and the Border Patrol their job had been repurposed from protecting our borders, escorting people to the Yuma airport and sending them to any destination in our country. It's the most insane thing I've ever seen. And it's crushing the social safety net in our country. And the reason Cesar Chavez wanted to close the border is he saw that all these illegal migrants who were coming across were destroying his capacity to negotiate for good working conditions and good wages for his American workers.
Of course it is.
And that was obvious at that time, not only to Cesar Chavez, but the entire Democratic Party.
Of course it is.
Today, because President Trump said we need to close the wall. That's the only thing that they hear. If Trump says it, it must be wrong. So now we're open. We're up for an open border. Don't you want a president who is going to reassert control of the U.S. government, of our immigration policy? And, my uncle Ted Kennedy, who was 50 years in the United States Senate, he wrote a law called Title IX. And that law, and he got Republicans and Democrats to support it, but that law created equality in women's sports because he said, and women ought to be allowed to compete, and they ought to have the same rights as men to compete. And that's something the Democratic Party believed in. But they don't believe in it anymore. Now they're against women's sports. And finally, the Democratic Party that I grew up with wanted to protect the most vulnerable people in our society. They wanted good health for our children. And today, the Democratic Party is on the side of the big ag, big pharma, and big food companies that are poisoning our children. We now have the highest chronic disease rate in the world. Diabetes, which was virtually unknown when I was a kid. An average pediatrician in my year, with my day, when I was a kid, when my uncle was president, would see one case of diabetes, juvenile diabetes, in his lifetime, 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 children who walk through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. And it's costing us more than our military budget. Just that kind of money.
I believe it.
This is bankrupting. When my uncle was president, we spent 0 on chronic disease. Now we spend $4.3 trillion. And our children are so sick and so obese that 77% of them do not qualify for military service. Our fertility levels
70%
in the world. Teens today have 50% of the sperm count, 50% of the testosterone as teens, American teens 2 generations ago.
Mm.
Little girls are now hitting puberty at 8 years old because of all the estrogen
Yes.
generated by the poisons and toxic foods.
Mm-hmm.
We have 1,000 ingredients in our foods that are illegal in Europe. And the same companies, are Kellogg and all these companies, are making products in Europe,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't use those ingredients there. So they know how to do it, but they're
Mm-hmm.
poisoning Americans
Mm-hmm.
when they know how to not poison Canadians or Europeans or Mexicans.
He's telling the truth.
And the, the, the average girl in this country is now reaching puberty between 10 and 13 years old. That's 6 years younger than a couple generations ago, and it is the youngest of any nation in the world. We are destroying our children. And that was the major reason his commitment, Donald Trump's commitment, to make America healthy again.
Now, okay, he's only a minute ago, so I'm gonna go through this.
Is the primary reason that I joined this campaign. And don't you think that we want a president in this country that is going to make our country healthy again? Thank you all very much, and God bless you, and get to the poll on November 5th here in Michigan. And don't vote for me, vote for Donald J. Trump.
That was so good. That was good.
Don't vote for me. Vote for Donald J. Trump. Now, I love that he mentioned the health epidemic in the country. This is a huge. This is a biggie.
Mm-hmm.
If you're driving down testosterone and it's driving up estrogen, what are you?
Ooh.
You're causing an imbalance in mating, the natural mating necessities in our country.
Talk
right?
about it. Mhm.
Because our girls are faster and our boys are way slower. Right? So you're causing not only girls to become more assertive in their sexual drive, but they don't know who to be assertive with.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have a influx of these alpha, quote unquote, alpha dudes coming around, soiling their royal oats or whatever, what have you, because they can. I mean, how many of these lower testosterone boys can compete with one of these, stallions that's working out at the football, doing all that stuff and busting his butt, where you can't compete with that.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got now you have an imbalance, right? So because we have this huge imbalance and it's starting off from our food,
Mm-hmm.
it's coming from our food. Then we have the mothers basically saying to their children, here's this device, figure it out. You know what I mean? And then now we have a reason for Planned Parenthood
Mm-hmm.
because they're faster with less supervision. They're told that they can. Dude, this is
It's
a
all
big
a
problem.
plan because if the most of the moms are at work,
Yes.
Because they have to work,
Mm-hmm.
and the majority now there's more single parent households than there ever was. So then you have that. Then you're talking about the diet, and I mean, it's just I believe it's been a
Of
plan.
course, it's all a plan. And the thing, and how can you weaken the most powerful nation in the world?
Yeah, from the inside,
From within.
from within. Yeah. Mhm.
From within. And it's so subtle. You don't realize this is happening. You don't realize that the Kellogg's commercial was designed to get you hooked on sugar.
Yeah.
You don't realize that. You just, okay, because you're trusting what you're seeing,
Mm.
not realizing there is a regime, there's a machine
Mhm.
to get you off of what really counts, the basics.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
There was a time where gym class was really a thing.
And it was required, and you actually had to work out, go to the gym, the thing, put your gym clothes on, and we're gonna exercise.
Real talk, like
Yeah.
hardcore.
Mhm.
But now It's just all over the place. And because we got these, microwave mentalities,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to cook anymore. You know what I'm saying? What am I cooking for? I can just put this in the microwave 5 minutes later and it's done.
It's all the
And
process.
it's
Yeah.
all eroding us from what we should have been doing from jump. So I do agree with Robert on this one. There is far too much uh, going on in our systems, and we need to clean our system. Like I said, if you're going to clean up America, you got to start with numero uno. You got to clean up your biases. Got to clean them up. You got to start asking the question, why am I so triggered by this? Why am I so triggered by that? Really start asking that question. Really start digging into yourself, because America's not going to clean up until you start cleaning.
Just like he said, America was known as a virtuous nation because the people were once virtuous people.
They were one verse with you.
I love the last part, that part where he said, "Don't you want a president that will make peace around the world?"
Mm.
Because what we're dealing with, like you said, is good versus evil. You hear, and this was, I mean, it was crazy. It says Harris was the first president ever in his lifetime ever that went over and basically started trouble and initiated this problem.
When he said that?
Yeah, we have to remind it. But he did say that she was the first one, not the totalitarianism, decisive buyer. Harrison Walls are not the party of peace. They're a
Oh
party
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
war.
Yes,
That
He
they're
was
a
talking
party
about.
of
Yes, I
war.
remember that.
And that she went
He
over
was
there.
talking about the Democratic Party is not a party of war.
A peace.
They were the party of peace, not
Yeah,
the
not
party
a
of
party
war,
of war.
because that's the only way they know how to make money.
Yes. Because he said all of this time with Putin, there was no purpose for the war. That was not necessary.
Yeah,
And for this length of time. And they're keeping the war going. And we've been saying it for years. Bring our troops home. Bring our troops home. Why are you making this war? Why are you continuing on with this war? There was no purpose for them to stay out there.
Because they want the war to continue. All right, it's command and conquer, basically.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. It's command and conquer. If I can get you to weaken your own defenses by fighting
Divide
each
and
other,
conquer.
divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer.
If I can keep you fighting against each other, there's a lot of people going to say the tariffs and what Trump was doing hindered other people and other whatever. And I'm like, yeah, that was the point of them.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Like, said that the whole point of the tariffs was to stop you from doing what you're doing. Figure another route. You can't use this route no more, because we're hemorrhaging under it.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we paying for your security?
Right.
Secure your own stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, so I get that. You know what I mean? Especially when we wasn't getting nothing for it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? What were we getting for it? We were just getting to help you out. That's that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know.
No, because listen, this is what everyone's saying right now. Look at this storms. Look at everything that's happening in our country. We need to keep that here,
dude. With the resources that we with the economy that we have, we got the best economy, bar none, because we do it because we want to. You get to pick and choose what you want. If you don't like it, you can change your mind. You can do that here in this country. That's why when foreigners come over here and say you can do whatever you want, they really mean that. You can try something, not like it, go back to school, get another degree, try that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You could do that here. You could be an absolute screw up most of your life and just decide to commit 1 year and be a multi-millionaire in 5. You can do that here.
Yes.
Is it hard? Heck yeah. But it's possible. And nobody's going to get in your way. As long as you follow the rules and cross the T's and dot the I's, you'll be straight here. The only time you start running into real problems is when you start going against the machine.
Yeah.
All right. John F. Kennedy did not. I mean, Robert F. Kennedy had no problems till he went against the machine.
His whole life, he was on their side. Like, oh, now you're jumping
ship. They had
ship.
no problem with Malcolm X
until
he started talking unity. You understand me? They had no problem. Like when you start, and this woman said, when you start messing around with America's money, that's when you're going to have problems.
Yes.
When you start messing around with American money, you're going to have problems. Mainstream media is done. It's over for mainstream media. They know it. We know it. It's done. They have, you can't, till this day, you go to YouTube, type in anything newsworthy, all you get is newscasts. You get nothing, and they keep populating more newscasts and more newscasts and more newscasts, no more. You can scroll for hours and not see one single regular video uploaded by a person like me. You won't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? Nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares. What we're doing is we're subscribing and we're finding our news elsewhere. We're not going to mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
Mainstream media is like Wikipedia now.
Mm-hmm.
You only use it to start your referencing. You start there, okay, and then you follow the link to the real article.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that's what we're doing right now because we don't like Trump said, Google's in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Google's in deep doo doo because
Mm-hmm.
people are starting to realize Google is a part of the machine.
Yes.
And when you realize that, yo, man,
Yes.
we've been, and every chance they get, they try to control what you see and hear. Every chance they get,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Tubi, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Roku, and Roku is doing good. I ain't gonna lie. Roku got some good entertainment. Do you understand me?
Mm-hmm.
Toya she showed me that, what is it?
Highway to Heaven.
Not Highway to Heaven. The other one. Heartland. Ooh, that's a good show.
I'll watch.
Look,
I don't watch a lot of television. If you hear we're talking about like streaming systems and stuff like that, that's not like a new thing. We've been doing that for
our entire relationship.
years. About even right before Netflix came out, we had stopped with the cable, and then because we have a family, and this was my husband, like, we can't have the kids watching
Watching this
this
stuff, no.
mess. And so we stopped years ago, and then we went to, for a long time, especially when they were little, we were in VHS and then DVDs, and then there were streaming channels and Hulu, and trying to not allow the garbage that's out to infiltrate our home.
Yes.
And then, like you said, they tried to assassinate Trump, and then the garbage fell in our living room, and here we are.
Again. So yeah, we have a lot of work to do. Parents. I'm talking to the parents right now. We have a lot of work to do.
And I'm sorry to say it this way, but if you're not a parent, this conversation is not for you. This particular area and this topic, from education all the way down the line, this is not for you. You don't have a right to speak into the lives of those who have to deal with the repercussions of decisions that you're making when you don't have a child.
Right.
Or you're not a caregiver of a child, someone who has not only just a teacher, you have no children. Why are you making laws or enforcing laws on children where you don't have any? And yes, I said that, and then I'm not going to take it back.
I believe it's because they don't have their own, and they need to raise somebody that's going to be okay with their decisions and way of thinking. I think is a copying thing. Right?
Isn't it always?
I really believe it has a lot to do with a copying thing. Certain genes, or certain, like, if you try to kill a virus, it's going to do everything it can to protect itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the same thing was going on with this mentality,
Mm-hmm.
that you can just go and talk to anybody's children,
It's an
implement
agenda.
a new, way of being into their head because you believe they have a right to it. Well, they have a right to it, but you don't have a right to put it there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't hire you to fill my child's head up with nonsense.
With your opinion.
I hired you to teach him math.
Right.
Teach him math. Don't be sending no freaking links to my kids so they can discover books that they can never get out of their head once they've read it.
Mm-hmm.
I was a child before. I know what it's like to see something I was not ready to see.
Yes.
And the path that it takes you down because you wasn't ready to see it.
Mm-hmm.
And now your head is filled with this new thing and you're not ready to deal with the repercussions of actions of that new thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know that you're going to be swapping germs and viruses with one another.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know that. You don't know that there's germs and viruses that might get in you and you can never get rid of at that time. You don't know that. And God kept me. I was lucky.
Yes, we both. Yeah, many of us
I
were.
was lucky.
Yes.
But I know what it's like to try to get that image out of my head. Only God can help me with that.
Mm-hmm.
Till this day, I have images of things that I saw when I was 12
Mm-hmm.
because I remember how shocking it was. I never saw that position before. I've never saw that thing before. And something is happening to me on a chemical level.
Yeah. And why do you think the agenda is being pushed so much and now younger and younger? Please tell me why a kindergarten, first and second, third grader needs to see that. Please explain it.
Because they feel that they should be. You need to educate them about us. No, we don't. I don't got to educate my kids about you. Who are
Who
you?
are you? Right.
You're not God.
And that's not to say any of us are. And but this is the point that I'm making. This is not your child.
Listen, I don't speak into nobody's child's life
No.
unless I get full permission from the parent. And even then, the parent has to be there.
Present, yes. Mm-hmm.
Because if I say something that the parent may not like, because hey, I don't know the barriers and what we listen. When somebody say, "Come in, my house is your house," I don't listen to that
Mm-hmm.
BS. Because in my house we do it a certain way.
Right.
I don't know if I listen. When you say my house is your house, I still don't go in your refrigerator.
Mm.
I still ask for permission to go to your bathroom.
Like, why do you keep asking me? Because this is not my house.
It's not my house, and I want you to know where I'm at all times.
Mm-hmm.
All times, because I come from a den of thieves. I know what happens when stuff get missing.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived in a household where things just go miraculously missing. And I'm sitting here like, yo, what happened to my chain? What happened to my this? What happened to my that?
Mm.
And then the person who stole it comes back 3 days later looking for a hot meal.
Mm.
I've been a part of that family, so I know what that's like. So the last thing I want to do is go missing in your house. It's upstairs to the left. All right. How long does it usually take to get upstairs to the left?
Mm-hmm.
Tommy, I'll be right back.
I'll be
down.
right back.
Okay. I don't want nothing. Nope. I was right here. I wish you did have video cameras up into the point of the bathroom because I don't want to have that problem.
And this the issue. I don't want this problem. We don't want that problem, but y'all keep bringing it to our doorstep in our living room.
You are trying to force your mess into my living room. And that's where this is why the Christians are joining the conversation.
They always say separate state, religion,
church
and state.
Right.
But y'all brought it into
you bring
everybody's
it into
living
my
room.
living room. Now, when I see commercials, I see transgenders with wigs on. And I see commercials, I see lesbians on the damn commercial. And when I see commercials, I see gay men driving a car together. Why do I want to see that? Why should I have to see that?
And why should my children have?
Why you trying to make it acceptable? What you're doing is pissing us off. That's not what you want to do. Well, what's wrong with being homosexual? The Bible says it's a it's not blasphemy. It's an abomination. That's what's wrong with it. You want to know the truth? That's what the Bible says. That's the book that I read. You keep throwing it on me, I'm going to have to fight back.
I think that's the point. And when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says he had an issue in the beginning with MAGA because he had this thought process about MAGA. And then you have the Democrats, which he's been repeatedly said he's been his entire life, said that they're, extremists and they want to put everyone back to, a worse time in American history, et cetera. But it's really more bringing America back to the glory days of America, where you could have a family meal together and turn on the television without trying to cover your kids' ears and eyes and protect them from what I did not ask you to put on television for them to see.
Right.
So the reason why we speak up on it is because you put your big mouth out there and you brought that into our homes. You don't want us in your house, don't come in our house.
Don't come in our house.
And that's including America.
And I think that's where the biggest problem comes along when it comes down to this whole thing. You're forcing yourself on other people because your numbers are few, and your numbers can only grow if you force yourself on people. Well, what if your son is a homosexual? What if that person, because I know when I was homosexual, I felt like an outcast. I felt alienated. I felt alone. And you found your way to the LGBTQ, didn't you? Yes. Then he will find his way to you. When he's grown and he can do whatever the heck he want and make the decisions that he want to make, he can do that. But at 12,
At 8, at 5.
at 8, transitioning a child at 8? No. And this is coming from a father, not a parent, a father.
Mm-hmm.
I do my best to give my children everything they need to survive in this world. You know the one thing they don't need to survive in this world? Sex. They do not need sex to survive in this world. As a matter of fact, sex is a huge hindrance. I want them to avoid sex as long as they possibly can because it
It
confuses
just confuses everything.
everything.
It messes everything up. Mm-hmm.
That's the worst thing you can introduce to your child early is sex. Any last words?
Well, we just said what we felt like saying in our hearts and our souls.
I don't know where that all came from, but it came out of somewhere.
I
I
like
probably lost 50,000 videos, some subscribers on that one.
like Robert F. Kennedy said, Jr. said, we don't want totalitarianism. Never allow a government to censor your speech of any kind. And I really do believe that President Trump, and I've said it many times, he's looking at the full picture. He cares about the entire country. And the Harris campaign is very blatantly speaking to one side. I want a president that wants to make peace with the entire world. I think that was beautiful. And it's so true. And at the end of the day, just check their resume.
Now, keep in mind, I don't just want Trump to bring peace. I want Trump to bring order.
Yes.
I want him to bring peace through strength, not peace through cowardness. There's a huge difference because peace through cowardness is tyranny. Peace through strength is a handshake and doing business.
Mm-hmm.
You keep your order, I keep my order, and somewhere we meet in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the most powerful duo you can possibly put together is a man and a woman that don't agree. Because they will figure out a way to agree with one another. Even though they can agree to disagree. I disagree with having to cook these eggs, but here you go. I disagree with buying this purse, but here you go. I disagree. You feel me? Like that's the best. And eventually you start enjoying the disagreement. I said no. You know how many times my wife say no to me and I still get what I want? It's fun. And vice versa. It's beautiful. But you get to that point where you start
I'm
realizing
not
that
as bad as you.
yeah, I'm pretty bad. But
Terrible.
you get to a point where you start realizing you're not really that different. It's just that y'all have a different way of doing things. You want to rule with an iron fist, and you want to be a dictator, then you go to China and become a dictator. You want to rule as a with a democracy. You want to, clue in everybody to get their fair share, or get their say. You do that, and let the best order wins. But when you are undermining our core values the way that the Democratic Party has done, you don't know the truth from the lie. And that's scary, because you might be making a decision on a lie because you don't have the truth.
Yeah. And that's what they did. Had people known, had all the information, they could have made a more concise and informed decision.
And they did what they did. And that's why so many people are pissed off, because we found out the truth and we realized you was lying to us. So that's what we had to do. We had to say what I had to do. Well, that's it. This is Gary Lamb. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you all right with me, brother. Next, we're going to be doing, I guess, I think Tulsa Galbert. I think we should do her next. I think that'd be great. But
we'll talk about her next.
We'll talk about her next. But if you can, please donate to the channel. Please, please, please. If you can donate to the channel, go right ahead.
Keep us up. Keep us up here, y'all.
Keep us alive. We will be back here on Saturday.
Yes,
Saturday night, and we might have a little premiere for you before we actually come live. This is Gary Lamb signing off.
Thanks,
Lady
guys.
Lamb. You guys have a good one.